Hi everybody, this is the video that supports the Basic Probability 1 booklet. This guy right there. It's pretty easy. You guys shouldn't have too much problem. The key is provided. We're just going to talk a little bit about probability and some of the very simple ideas like the notation, very simple formula, and there's some special words that you need to be looking out for, like or, not, and equal, which are, words you see all the time. So let's have a look at what the notation means and go through some examples. Alright, so much of the work that you wind up doing in the booklet has to do with an idea of a spinner. So pretend like this this little circle has like a little spinner, like, what's the game that has the spinner? Twister has a spinner. There's many games that have, spinners. So you spin it, and what's the chance that it lands on a different letter, right? We have 3 A's, 2 B's, 2 D's, and 1 C. So I could ask you a variety of questions. I could ask you, what's the probability of landing on a B? Or in this case, we say probability of B. So P bracket B is probability of B, or an outcome of B. What's its probability? And all probability is just a number attached to any kind of event that has chance. Excuse me. So, when we spin the spinner, we don't know where it's going to wind up. So there's a chance that it could end up on a B or a C or a D, and if they all have equally likely outcomes, then we can easily calculate the probability. So it's the number of B outcomes on the spin, so in this case 2, divided by the total number of outcomes, which in this case, if you count them all up, there's 8. So I would write that like this. Right, the probability of a B is 2 over 8. Now remember, 2 over 8 is not a simplified fraction. Both the 2 and the 8 can be divided by the same number. It can be divided by 2. So we have to simplify our fraction. And it's one of the jobs you have to do in the booklet, is you have to take your fractions that you get and simplify them. And they're not too hard, but you got to remember how to simplify. So let's just quickly review that. Alright, so you need to notice that the 2 and the 8 can be divided by 2. Both of them have to be able to be divided by the same number. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. That's that guy right there. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. That's that number right there. So you'll have to make sure that you do that kind of job. Now, I'm going to give you some other ones to try while we're here. Okay, so I might ask you for the probability of it not being a B. Okay, so we write that in notation format as B with a little bar on top of the letter. So that little bar in probability means not. And so I count up the ones that are not B's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 possible ways to have that happen out of a total of 8. Right, 6 over 8. And both of those can be divided by 2. So let me get out my pen here. Right, 6 can be divided by 2. 8 can be divided by 2. And I'm left with 3 over 4. Now, check that out. What's 3/4 plus 1/4, right? 3/4 plus 1/4 is equal to 4/4, right? You keep the bottom the same because they're like. You add the tops, and 4 over 4 is the same as the value of 1. And that's another quick little piece. The probability of something plus the probability of it not being something is always equal to 1, and we can use that to our advantage sometimes, right? If you know one of the numbers and you have to count all the other ones to find the other type, instead of counting them all, which might be a major pain, you just minus it from 1 and see what you get, right? And that's a nice quick way to do that. Let's have a look at a couple more examples. Okay, so I could ask you something like this. What's the probability of C or D? Okay, so you can count them up if you like, right? So 1C, 2, so I have 3 total, right? So this is a total of 3, because I have the C, or these 2 D's, so 3 over 8, right? And that you can't simplify that because 3 can't be divided by 2, so you're left with just 3 over 8. Now you can, whenever you see the word or, especially in early probability like what we're doing, you can do this little trick. The or means plus, and you can call this the probability of C plus the probability of D. So the probability of C, well, there's 1. So 1/8. D, there's 2/8, and you're like, well, you got to simplify the fraction. You don't need to because you got the bottom number the same, and so that's 3/8, which is what we have up here. So, or just means the plus, right, when you're talking about statistics and probability, at least for the time being. It changes later on in grade, you know, if you do pre-calculus 12, but for right now, we're not even close to that. So we're just doing some basic details like that. Now let's have a look at one more idea, and then we're pretty much done, folks. Okay, so you might see something that says, what two have an equal probability? So you just want to count up the ones that have an equal set of outcomes, because they're both in the same grid over here. So the probability of A, right, we said was 3/8. Probability of B, right, is 2/8, or 1/4. 1/4. Probability of C is 1/8, which is 1/8, and I don't need that. And then the probability of D is 2/8, which is 1/4. Alright, so you just look and see which ones are the same, right? 3/8, it doesn't match up to anybody. 2/8. 2/8. God dang you guys. 2/8. And 2/8, well, 1/4 and 1/4, so D and B are equal. And you can just look at it like that. Now, these are really simple ideas, right? So, I mean, you don't need fancy math to do it, but there is fancy math that goes further. And so if you learn the fancy math from here on out, it gives you the foundation to do more of it. And the further down the rabbit hole that you go, the more powerful it is. But for right now, you don't really need a lot of fancy math to get this stuff done. But here's part of the fancy math for you. Alright guys, so that's really it. That's all I got to talk about for today. The worksheet is pretty quick and simple. The key is attached. Please make sure you show your work, because I am looking, although it's pretty hard to show your work on some of these questions. But I am looking. I don't want to see just answers all the time. Okay, anyways, that's it for me. Take care, stay safe, stay healthy.